Hello, welcome everybody. This is Dr. Muhamad Aly Rifai, the virtual psychiatrist. And today we are together meeting with Dr. Norman Clement, a brilliant dentist and pharmacist. Dr. Norman Clement, Norm, or you are within the norms. He is a beacon of resistance against the systematic targeting of black and brown medical professionals. And we are meeting today to talk about the case of our colleague, Dr. Neil Anand. Thank you, Dr. Clement, for being with us today. And it was heart wrenching this week hearing the news about the guilty verdict of our colleague, Dr. Neil Anand. But we will keep going. We will persist, and we will continue resisting the targeting of physicians in this country. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate just having this opportunity. And we say we advocate for all medical practitioners. And so because there's folks who will try to manipulate, what we're saying, oh, just black and brown, but we were advocates for the entire country and the world here, as the medical profession is under a threat against this type of authoritarian rule by governments or government agencies that have imposed fictitious guidelines and standards and so-called standards that have threatened the overall healthcare delivery of medicine. And when I say medicine, I include all of dentistry, pharmacy, all the disciplines are included in here, and a threat to our patient population, the those who receive this type of the health care, all in the name of profits, is what I can basically break it down to. But it's very we're in an age of authoritarianism, and I was listening today to Gary. I'm sure you're familiar with Gary Kasparov. He's was a Russian. He was a big chess player and the stand up for the against the Soviets. But one thing he says you can't, and he says you can't back off from this encroachment. You can't have fear, and we're in an age of I would say, you want to say, fascism. Of course, we always talk about authoritarian, in which the medical, which they've operated under fear, and that fear is that we will lose our assets and lose our property, and that may just something that we have to a reality that we have to face here, and not be afraid, because what these what's demonstrating here is that these procedures, these guidelines, these whatever they're asking us to do is completely wrong, and they've criminalized. We say criminalize the field of medical care through this manipulation, and unfortunately, media has bought into this game of taking people who are this word addiction and turning it into a scourge, when in fact addiction is a disease, and it's existed for since the beginning of time. You go into the Bible, you read about people who are addicted to wine, or folks uh, addicted to fighting each other, and also like the murder and stuff. It's the same, operating under the same mesolimbic system and stuff. It's when we look at the mindset of what's happening here. So that's my open.
It's quite unfortunate what our colleague Dr. Neil Anand has gone through over the last 6 or so years. The prosecution, the persecution, the targeting. They targeted him through these AI algorithms, and we've talked about that. I've written about that. You've written about that in your blog. You're within the norms. So it's very unfortunate that it targets specifically. I mean the minority physicians. I consider myself one of those minority physicians, and I was targeted by the United States Department of Justice just because I was providing services to the underserved populations, the undeserved, as they're called, or the dispensable, as our colleague Dr. Linda Chi called them, the dispensable population, physicians who are dispensable, providing services to the dispensable population. We're all dispensed with all together at the same time, and it's quite unfortunate, and people don't see that there is consequences for these prosecutions, unjust prosecutions that are not valid.
In fact, I'm just looking at a document from the Supreme Court. This is a statement that was filed by the Physicians Against Abuse. And when it says this formula has made the U.S. the only country in the world mass incarcerating physicians. This is not because all the criminal doctors miraculously reside in the United States, but rather because there is something significantly wrong in the manner that federal prosecutors have allowed to litigate these cases as if they are in the wild, wild west. Prosecutors are able to easily appeal to the emotions of the juror all over the country where there is an ongoing, quote, opioid crisis, such that it is estimated that at least one in every four individuals know of a person who has had died of an overdose. And therein lies the significance of this thing, of this use of the word overdose, taking a Medicaid. In fact, the overdoses that we find are illicit. Again, I think there's a misnomer. Are these illicit medication? These illicit, not medications, but poisons, and they conflate this with illicit or legal medications that are used for the treatment of disease and disease state, and they've combined all of this together. So when we use this word overdose, to us, you and I, it means taking a medication beyond its therapeutic dose. Taking and anybody who does, when we look at that, we say, well, if you do that, then you're going to cause harm, and it's going to eventually, it may kill you, you know. But then you go to these illicit drugs, heroin, for example, street heroin or street acetyl fentanyl, and that sort of acidic fentanyl. Then we say, well, he overdosed on fentanyl. Well, you go ask the question, well, wait a minute, what's the therapeutic dose of heroin? What's the therapeutic dose of fentanyl? This is not an overdose, it's poisoning. And you've been given a poison. So to conflate that with taking a medication beyond its therapeutic dose, it has dramatic consequences, and that's where and so when we hear people, the news media, particularly overdose, what?
Mm-hmm.
Are we of heroin? Well, where do you get that from? I mean, to us it seems misbranded and illogical, but they've used it to promote their their agenda,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just amazing, the amount of ignorance that is that is that our media and our people are has been promoted, and we even with this thing opioid. Let me get back over here. Opioid. When you always ask the question, well, what opioid are we talking about? Are we talking about oxycodone, hydromorphone? What is this? And they can't explain. But we know that from pharmacists, as physicians, each medication that is sort of a narcotic analgesic medication has a different efficacy, a different, I would say, duration in which it's used, and those sort of things. And we oftentimes conflate. So we never ask specifically what we use the word opioid in a general term, but we conflate it with the heroines, the illicit carbon fentanyl, and those sort of things, and it's creates confusion. It creates a false narrative as to what we're seeing and what's happening in this country. In terms of the word opioid, where does it come from? Where does that word come from? In the beginning, if you look at the case,
And this confusion is exactly what these prosecutors thrive on. This is what they sow. They
exactly,
confuse the jury, they confuse the courts, they confuse even the defendant and their attorney because they don't know what's going to be coming at them with the government just making up things as they go along.
cookbooking is what we used to call it in dental school. A cookbook for kids. You just they either make it up, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I am using the term they make up things as they go along. This is not a statement that I am making. This is a statement that a witness, a police officer, an undercover police officer
Mhm.
made in my case. She was asked on the stand, well, what? And she says, I made things up as I went along.
Right.
So I mean, basically, you have a witness from the government saying that they made things up as they went along, and then their expectations. And this is in writing. This is
And
in a court is in a court transcript.
right.
A witness for the government saying we made things up as we
As
went
we
along.
and this is this is amazing. When we see what they never thought there would be a group of doctors that would fight back. That would say this is wrong. And here's the other thing: the racial aspect of the whole thing. They never thought that in their attack that a group of I'll put it this way: after they've stripped us of all of our dignities, that a group of poor white boys and girls would unite with a group of poor black boys and girls
Yes.
and
And bring in the
drop
Muhammad Ali. And
the
bring in
girl,
the Muhammad Ali. There you go.
Muhammad Ali, and we would all get together and figure their BS out. And we came to realize, hey, wait a minute. We all began to work together in our various aspects and fighting each other and arguing with each other and that sort of thing. And began to, particularly in the case of Anand, what Dr. Anand does is he then goes back and he says, there's a reasoning behind this. And we have to go back and look at philosophy. We got to go back to to the 16th century and all sort of thing and other civilization. And I'm
Yes.
saying, what? And
Yes.
he's yeah. He says, think about the age of the Enlightenment. He starts talking about the Enlightenment. He starts talking about the empires, how this has been in every society, in every culture
Hmm. Hmm.
in the world that has ever existed. There is always a period of enlightenment followed by a period or overthrown by a period of unenlightenment.
Hmm. Hmm.
Where folks said, for example, it usually started around religion that the earth is round,
Hmm.
the earth moves around the sun.
Hmm.
And of course, the religious guys, oh no, 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 like God didn't make it that way and that sort of thing. Well, no, no, the stars are celestial and they have no, 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 and there's these gravity. Oh no, 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 no. And so you end up with guys like, for example, Peter Avalar, who's a Greek, who's I mean from way back when, and he's advocating this change based on what he's finding in physics and studies and all this stuff, and meeting with his buddies. And he wakes up, he's in sleep one night, and they break into his house and they cut his testicles off. Okay. I mean, we've had this kind of thing, this state of this challenge against science and and religion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we can even go back far with when we talk about in our studies germs, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People say, "Oh, it's not a little blood." Blood. There used to be a time when a guy who was so-called delivered babies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he was marked as a great doctor by the amount of blood that he had on his apron,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact he didn't wash his hands. And,
Mm-hmm.
that led to a spread of an epidemic. There was another guy that came along and said, "Hey, this is wrong." I think guy was a Sedfill or something like that, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whatever. And he said, "No, this is this bacteria, whatever." And the first thing they did was they threw him out. They condemned him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we see this. Neil talks about Plato's allegory of the cave. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
one that really,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, where he says, you think about it like this, that there are the three men are in this cave and they're seeing shadows. Then
Mm-hmm.
one comes out, gets out of the couple of them get out of the cave
Mm-hmm.
and began to experience life and they began to become enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
Then back to the cave to enlighten the folks who are in the cave and then
Mm-hmm.
they're rejected, they're punished,
Mm-hmm.
and condemned. And that's what's happening, especially with us, you know. And there's academic, I call it academic insecurity. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
uh, most of us were pretty, we were pretty smart guys,
Mm-hmm.
nerds, you want to call
Mm-hmm.
it, or guys who knew
Mm-hmm.
everything in class. Yeah,
Sure.
hey, what is this? Muhammad, why you always got your hand up? So people, you had your brilliance and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know, and so people, when you get you abided by the law, you were goody two shoes and went on home and didn't fight and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when you come out, you're successful, you're making money,
Yes.
and you're supposed to make that. People want to see you get your butt kicked.
Sure. Sure. Yes.
Your even your family members, man, they want to see you get your comeuppance. Oh, he thought he knew every damn thing. So Burdell talks about that. I talk about it.
Yes. Yes.
And you talk. There are family members in your own family who are more than happy. Oh, they always look up to you. Finally, get your ass kicked. You are nothing but a damn thief, anyways. But that kind of
Sure.
stuff goes on. You
Yes.
know.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is a call for action from us physicians. We gotta. I mean, you talked about the Plato allegory of the cave, and
mhm.
and Plato said that you are staring at the shadows, and we're trying to convince ourselves that everything is okay. Everything is not okay.
Right.
Medicine is under attack from the United States Department of Justice. I mean, basically, they don't allow physicians to build hospitals. They are reducing physicians' compensation.
Mm-hmm.
They are basically raiding doctors' offices. And basically, because we are the easy targets,
Exactly.
we're sitting there in our offices. They could raid our office. That will be a much easier than raiding the drug house of an MS-13 gang that has automatic machine guns that's
Exactly.
gonna shoot at the incoming police and DEA. They
You
will
don't.
come into a doctor's office. That's much easier. They'll come in. They'll make up some crap. This police officer said we made things up as we went along, and they'll make things up and they'll convince the jury, and they'll come in and with their in their suits, and they'll come in, this is police officer so and so, and the jury trusts the police officers,
Exactly.
and then they come up with something against the physician. The physician looks like, they say, well, he's driving a fancy car. In Dr. Anand's case, they said he drives a Volvo. Really? Give me a break.
Right.
A Volvo now is like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. He drives a Volvo. That's his charge, that he drives a Volvo.
And he owns and he's ambitious and he has a pharmacy and stuff. But the thing you brought up an interesting thing. Who they target are single, like you said, easy targets. You don't go after big companies. like this,
Sure.
or big, huge hospital conglomerates like this. And when you do
Like
go,
CVS kicked the ass of the Justice Department. You know, when they sued CVS says what you're saying is nonsense. I mean,
right,
they sued CVS. They said you're inappropriately dispensing controlled substances to people, and CVS sent them back a brief with like from 10 lawyers. It's like you don't know what you're talking about. You're shifting the goalpost. You don't know what you're talking about.
and some of that, here was amazing thing. Some of that brief, that information in that brief was stuff that we had written.
Yes,
You
yes,
know, go about seeing it. And I'm not the guy to get, oh, I need to get credit for it. But yeah, they're following the blog. They're
yes.
following our blog and stuff. And so, I noticed that in Wuhan, the same thing. It was when my brother, I remember when they came and they raided me, my brother had been a cop for 35 years in the Detroit Police Department, okay? And he was a data analytic guy. He was working on his PhD in data analytics before he got, and he had gotten a master's degree and all that kind of stuff, and uh and things, and he did research, okay, but he had retired, and he was taught law enforcement and those things to various cops and stuff. And so he asked, when I told him what had happened, he said, "Send me a copy of the warrant." I didn't know what. I said, "Okay, I'll see what they sent me." And he calls me back. I'm headed at that time. I was getting ready to go to South Africa at the time. I was going, and we had landed in Copenhagen. And I get this call from my brother. He says, "I read this thing." He says, "Norm." He says, "What did you do wrong?" I was like, "I don't know." He says, "Man, how could they come in and raid your office when the law says they charge you with a crime the same as El Chapo, when it says clearly except as authorized?"
Hmm,
He says,
hmm,
"You're authorized." What are
hmm,
they talking? He says, "There's no probable cause here." He says,
hmm,
"This thing is about either they wanted to put you out of business, or
hmm,
either they were lying and using that warrant to steal those drug medications to sell them out on to sell them, these agents." And I'm saying, no. Well, it turns out both of it was true.
hmm, hmm,
Both of it was very true. And the other thing is that this is before you were with my lawyer, Mr. Dale Cisco, and I got to give great credit to him, because I can say I had great lawyers, all right,
hmm,
great guys who knew their math, who knew their science. And I say Dale Cisco, Vito Penza, George Tartaglia, um, things like people like that. And there's another guy I'm escaping right now. I mention his name, but um, these guys they also knew the system was rigged.
hmm, hmm,
Okay, and they also said, and I remember Dale saying, the only way you're going to win is unless you come in and you have to write about this, put this into writing and put it in some sort of form and get it out here. He said, "Well, the system is rigged against you. Uh,
hmm,
there is no thing is due pro." But well, later came to learn what was due process was. So
hmm, hmm.
we wrote the blog. You were within the norms, and that's how it gets started.
Sure, sure, yes.
Never thought. And as I was writing this, okay, and we were putting these articles in and sending them out, at the time we were having one of those administrative kangaroo court hearings.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. And me and Chapman, we're gonna go
Right,
with that. We're gonna
right,
go with that. The judge just gave us permission to extinguish it.
right. So what happens is that when we get this administrative court hearing, we had published maybe about 10 articles. And I'm sending this information, to my attorney and stuff, and putting out. At the end of this hearing, this agent, Richard James Albert, comes in, the DEA guy, this diversion, uh, I want to call him a clown, comes in and says, "Oh, we found this blog called You Are Within the Norms." And he's saying that, and he tried to manipulate, oh, he's saying that we're racially and all that, which wasn't. He took
Hmm,
a very small section of it, of what these articles, so they had done some research.
hmm,
I couldn't have been more happy in my life.
hmm.
I said, now we're really going to put it out there.
Absolutely.
And what
Absolutely.
we did, we put it out, and I never realized then the people around the world were following this, and they were using this in their defense and how much it had helped them.
Yes.
2 years later, I'm at a funeral. My dad had passed.
Yes.
My dad died. He was 104 when he died. Okay. And I'm at a funeral and I'm getting ready to walk in. I get a call. So let me answer
Uh-huh.
the call here. And it's a guy named Neil Ornan.
Uh-huh.
He goes into detail.
Uh,
And well, we got to talking. And that,
now you just told me a good piece of information.
right.
So how long? So your dad passed when he was 104. So this is how long the Justice Department has to contend with you for the next 20, 30 years?
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
going to be doing, you're within the norms for the
my,
next 30
dad,
years.
my dad and I went golfing. We went golfing in Panama. My dad was from Panama. My father from Panama. We went golfing. And my dad was about 100 years old when he went for golf. My dad stayed active. The only reason that it's kind of things. The only reason that he had, I say that he'd probably be living today had he been not put in a nursing home. I think those homes were designed, and that's funny. Once you hit a certain age, you can keep yourself all the health you want.
Hmm.
But once you hit a certain age, like around 96, 95, the system wants to weed you out. Oh, well, he's lived
Absolutely.
enough and he doesn't need any injections. He doesn't need, we said, well, can give him the COVID. No, he doesn't need that. He's 100 and something. It's, and people don't realize that,
Hmm.
that what this system is down to weed you out when you're over 90 and 98 or so. Where in this country, whereas you go to a place like Cuba, I mean, or Panama, people were 100 years old or long,
Absolutely.
short
Absolutely.
period. A guy who's 100 and something years old, man, this guy's a god. These people are
Okay.
gods, man, and they're given great deference
Hmm.
to their existence, their private
Absolutely.
soul. Whereas in this country, they're just something that just gets in the way. And so,
Hmm.
so this is what we're saying that and the one thing my parents taught is that you have to fight, to stand up, and the things
We're gonna
that
fight. We're gonna fight. This guy Norm and me, we're gonna stay a thorn in your side.
exactly
Special notice to DOJ. We're gonna still be a thorn in your side.
what exactly and what is really sad. I was listening to something on the radio, I mean the television today. What is sad is the silence. We have these so-called they manipulated these guidelines, and the silence of our many of our folks who are in authoritarian call themselves an authoritarian position in medicine,
Hmm.
their silence, their acceptance of, for example, morphine milligram equivalent. Where is that coming from? You know, they accept it. Well, we'll just go along just to get along. And,
We're not
and
accepting it anymore.
as
We call it equivalent my behind.
right. And as Caswell said, you can't accept that type of authoritarian encroachment because
Yes.
it's going to stop.
Yes.
It's not going to stop. You can try to appease this enemy or this
Hmm.
fascist, and they're not going to stop. They're going to ask for more and more and more. And so when we sit down and we see this, we've gotten people who've actually bought into this propaganda,
Hmm.
what we call morphine milligram equivalents,
Yes.
and also that have bought this type of stuff. And our esteemed folks have
Hmm.
bought, even though they know that it was all made up, and
Nonsense.
90 morphine milligram equivalents. All that stuff was made up by who?
Nonsense.
We've even found it. David Stroud, University of Washington, said
Hmm.
we just made it all up. We made the whole thing up, and
Hmm.
yet and they bought into in these fictitious
Hmm.
CDC guidelines. Let me.
Hmm.
I'm
And
gonna,
then our arch nemesis, the Rat King.
oh yeah, yeah. But how does a guy like this? And this it's something we were at. I was at a meeting with we were talking about it's called Truth and Science,
Hmm.
given by Dr. Elisa Dunn,
Hmm.
and she oftentimes, and that whole group that oftentimes talks about the proliferation of junk science
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
how it has encroached into many of our esteemed journals,
Mm-hmm.
the American Journals of Medicine, the Lancet, for example, junk science.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, she oftentimes talks about how how we have gotten there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and uh, uh, and the struggle that is taken
Mm-hmm.
to remove these so-called this so-called um, unscientific um, values or information. Our the struggle, the difficulty in refuting this kind of stuff. So you end up with guys like these so-called quote experts. This guy's not an expert at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This guy's a this guy's a charlatan. Red Longhorn writes an article about how these so-called quote experts
Yes.
so
Yes.
corrupted this field. And what is it all about? It's about money. It's
Yes,
about
and it's very interesting that you have a situation where you bring in an expert, somebody who says that what you do is criminal.
mm-hmm.
This is what these experts doing. They're telling the jury that what this doctor did was criminal, and that based on the opinion of one person goes to jail.
Right.
Basically, there's no standard, and you bring in an expert that refutes that, and it's whoever the jury believes, and then you go to jail for
And
that.
you're asking a jury of not your peers, but a jury that is, that is so uninformed. I mean, that does not understand medical science,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and we to make a determination on a guy king system that lacks scientific rigor and validation. Now, how would they not know that? Okay, how would they know that? They don't. Most people avoid science and math and
mm-hmm,
stuff.
mm-hmm,
And uh, uh, a system that relies upon what we call of subjective standards,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
symbols, uh, you know, colorful symbols.
mm-hmm.
That's what he has. He said, "Oh, because I have this color, that means this person is prescribing too much." Problem with that is when we always share this thing over prescribing and
Sure, sure.
things. The problem with that is what is never mentioned, particularly in a courtroom. And I'm going to break this up. There is, and this is something that Dunn talked about. There is a surgical standard that is established in a surgery suite, okay, a medical suite, and then there's a legal standard within a courtroom, okay, all right, and a surgical suite is based upon facts, evidence, scientific, whatever.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah, we operate all according to reported that the findings show.
mm-hmm,
In a legal suite, it's based upon evidence, facts, and stuff. But there's one other most important element that's missing there. When you don't have the facts, you don't have the law.
mm-hmm.
What do you say? We can baffle you with bullshit.
Yes, yes,
All right. And that's what we're having here.
yes, yes.
We get baffled people with so a guy can say that this symbol means that one has a deviant behavior and the doctor's intent to deceive and to find and all that sort of make those all kind of missing interpretation.
Mm-hmm,
But key factor is
mm-hmm,
never discussed in these presentations
mm-hmm,
in the courtroom. What is the disease and the disease state of the patient?
mm-hmm.
What is the disease and what is its state? Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
Numbers, we look at these things all based upon numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers. Oh, he prescribed too much. What do you mean too much? Numbers don't mean a damn thing in medicine. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. What is the disease and the disease state?
Mm-hmm.
That's never discussed.
That's never
Never,
discussed.
never comes up. Never comes up. What is the where is it? What region of what organs have been affected? What
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
does matter in the amount of medication the doctors prescribe
Mm-hmm.
based on the think about it. You when you prescribe a medication, an antibody,
Mm-hmm.
for example, you prescribe based upon the infection and
Sure.
what it is.
Absolutely.
The amount, the type of infection,
Yes. Yes.
and the amount of days that we're going to give this
Mm-hmm.
the medication to. Okay, all that's based upon that is the disease and the disease state.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens in pain medication. Okay,
Sure. Sure.
how can you say that there's one standard 90 morphine milligram equivalents? When you ask where did you get that from, and they go through this whole kabuki show. But when you really penetrate the deception and you go way back and you start
Mm-hmm.
looking at where this stuff comes from,
Mm-hmm.
it comes from three guys got together,
Sure.
University of Washington. David Stroud is one of them. And they just made up, oh, we'll start with 120 milligrams. We'll call it a morphine milligram equivalent. Where do you get this more? Well, it's something that nurses uses and stuff like that, but we give it a scientific standard. The legal profession has just bought into this because this made it
Sure.
easier
Yes.
for them to prosecute doctors.
To set
In
this arbitrary standard.
and in that theater, if you looked at it as a surgical theater
Mm-hmm.
and the legal theater is what I wanted to say. Okay, in that theater, this garbage science is allowed to persist. It's what Dunn talks about. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and there's what exists in science and what we do in our science room.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's one that comes up in the courtroom where all of a sudden, according to Judge Kinney now,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Neal's technique is over prescribing because he's just trying to use that for they what we call it, give it a center requirement,
Mm-hmm.
criminal mind requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's precisely what Ruhan talked about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It talked about the mens rea, the criminal mind.
But you're authorized.
It's not a criminal. What what do we? Where's the criminal mind here?
Mm-hmm.
This person comes in with in a condition has been working for years um, as a longshoreman person, pick up heavy objects and that sort of stuff, and they've managed to disrupt some part of the anatomical structures that affect the conduction of the nerves from the nerve signals from their brain to their back, which results in a sensory response as pain,
Mm-hmm.
pain,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pain. We see this, all right.
Yes.
And he then says, "This is what we have to do. We have to, and this procedure. He's got this, whatever." He fixes. All of a sudden, he's a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the technological words that his play, but you see this in psychiatry.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we treating? What is the disease and the mental state of the patient? And what they did in your case was they took a total different standard in terms of evaluating a patient, all right, and applied this standard to psychiatry.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And
But they just muddy things up. This is what they do. They I mean basically it's we the part of the physicians that are targeted are basically the lambs that the Department of Justice have decided that they're going to slaughter.
right,
We got this big herd. We the minority, the Middle Easterners, the Indians, the Jewish, the African American, the Hispanic.
Right.
We're gonna get one of those lambs, and we're gonna slaughter this lamb in front of the entire herd, so everybody learns to behave and not do anything. And
That
sometimes they catch one of the lambs, and I am one of the lambs that escaped.
and it's fear. It's fear. It
Yes,
operates under what we how this government is operating under fear. If
yes.
we will do this to you if you don't conform to
Hmm.
the fictitious standard and stuff. So what happens? You know, in the case of King, when we go back to King, it's profit driven. He gets
Hmm.
what, 90,
He got $100,000 for testifying, $125,000 for
right?
testifying against Dr. Anand. He'd say anything. He'd say Dr. Anand is a fruitcake if that's going to get him $125,000.
And he has made over 20, well, what we last, but I checked, this is 2 years ago, $22 million
Yeah,
in
yeah.
these type of
He'd
and
say anything.
create this kind of fraud. I had a young lady, I'll tell you, Margaret Belty. She's a physician and an attorney. She says this whole system, you can't. He wanted to patent, and she works with patents. Okay, she's a physician, an attorney.
Hmm.
You can't patent algorithms, but that's exactly what he was doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he was oh make what we say, and this was all based upon a profit motive.
Hmm.
Is his primary reason as to why he's doing this. I mean, this is
And one of his statements when he was on the stand when I was in court, he
uh-huh.
said he's never made a mistake in his life.
And the jury bought that.
I mean, the defense attorney just kind of turned his head and he says,
It's
"Excuse
unbelievable.
me?" He's like, "I've never made a mistake in my life."
Right.
And so I don't know the jury bought some of that statement, but the jury is confused, and what they're hearing is you got this greedy doctor who's driving
Greedy.
a
Oh,
Volvo, and has a pharmacy and has an office, and he has employees, and they scared all of his employees, so all of his employees pointed the finger at him.
fear. Greedy.
Yes.
These were greedy. That's what they were. What you have is these criminal uh, minded prosecutors who will who have known that in order to get to the higher legal term,
Mm-hmm.
it is easier,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
better, more thrilling, or not thrilling, but more rewarding to
Mm-hmm.
prosecute Muhammad Ali Rifai, MD, than it is
Yes.
Muhammad Ali Rifai of the hood.
Absolutely.
you know, and that Muhammad Ali MD, like you say, he hasn't got an M60 machine gun or
No, no.
R-9 missile or submarines and those sort of things.
Yeah, and he's been working for 20 years or 25 years, so he has maybe a retirement account that we say he's greedy.
And
He stole from Medicare. He stole from Medicare because he billed four services of psychotherapy, $43.46 each. And what we do, we can make up some crappy math or no crappy math whatsoever, but then we say, well, we want $1.3 million from him. Well, how did you come up with $1.3 million? My attorney, Mr. Paul Hetznecker, asked the agent who's an accountant, who's a CPA, and he's on the stand and he says, well, can you tell this jury you said you want $1.3 million from this doctor? How did you come up with this number? We have four charges of $43.46 each. That's less than $180. How did you extrapolate that? How did you come up with a number of $1.3 million. He had no answer. He had no answer. It's just bullshit.
It's it's about seizing. This whole thing comes under asset forfeiture.
Absolutely.
So when you just think about it, and particularly this happens to white physicians, okay? When you look at the system, okay,
Yes.
white physicians are more successful, okay? They
Yes.
get in there in the system, and they come in and they, let's say they make 1 million and they put away so much money, and 10 years they put their money away, and this thing grows and grows and grows, and they develop assets. At the end of 20 years, guy's got about 100 or so million. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
exaggerating, of assets that they've accumulated rightfully,
Mm-hmm.
not wrong, but rightfully. All the system has to do, particularly white guys, all they have to do is say, he's a drug dealer.
Yes.
That's all they have to do.
Yes.
And they can seize all of that.
Yes. Everything.
That's how everything, just in one
Retirement accounts,
day, in
buildings, his
day,
home, his
or
car.
everything.
Yes.
His family, his brother's car, his wife's, his son's property, everything
Uh-huh.
in one day.
Mm-hmm.
In one day.
Yes.
So that's where you see this injustice. This is about uh, targets, about asset forwards, about, and that gets you into higher, and that
It's highway
prosecutor
robbery.
gets you into higher legaldom.
It's
Look at the
highway robbery. I mean, this is what the DEA was doing. They
right
were stopping people in jetways, getting on planes and
planes,
robbing them of money.
money, and no one said it. And the thing say, no one says anything about it. When we complain to the politicians and those folks say, "Hey, this is what's going on." What do? Oh well, you need to get along, just go along. You know how it is. So,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
sure.
Until the Inspector General for the Department of Justice called them on it for the
Right.
DEA and said, "You got to stop doing this. This is highway robbery."
And what they claim they have stopped it. They claim, but I think it was the Institute of Injustice
Mm-hmm.
that began to point. But we knew this years. We put these in our video, in our articles. The DEA this is a criminal enterprise of the United States government. This is what
Yes.
they're doing.
Yes.
And the DEA guys were saying that. Jose Israel was saying it's all a game.
Uh-huh.
It's about seizing assets.
Yes.
They knew that what they were in bed with the cartels. And
Yes.
then comes out, and then we have a guy like Joe Ranasuzi, who's head of the DEA. He's a pharmacist. He's a lawyer and stuff. And you're talking with him, you realize that all this stuff, he created this thing of the opioid.
Yes.
That
Yes.
whole thing starts in 2005 with the opioid. Why? Because he wanted to get up to higher legaldom.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk to him, you know, I had a chance to talk to him. This guy was way out to
To pasture.
the pasture and stuff. His pathophysiology was all screwed up in terms of the medications. Particularly, he was going at that time. He
Yes.
was going after Gabby Penton, calling that a dangerous medication. And we were
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
what do you do to treat peripheral neuropathy? Then he couldn't give an answer to that. But the key is it starts around all that same time, 2005, 2006. When they started Asa Hutchinson, we put all this stuff together where these guys started manufacturing stuff. But the one timeline that is missing
Mm-hmm.
is that the and this comes out of the Cigars report, the Special Inspector General for Afghan Reconstruction. We wrote about this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the main people who are dealing in the transportation of the growth of poppies
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in Afghanistan was our good government.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we were the
Absolutely.
ones supporting the Afghan warlords.
Sure. Sure. Yes.
Afghanistan was producing 100,000 metric tons
Mm-hmm.
of heroin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The top supplier of heroin
In the world, yes, yes.
the control of under the supervision of the good old United States of America. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn till they light? And no
Absolutely.
one says anything. This is not within their time. Pull this stuff up.
Yes,
Look at
yes.
it. 100 men in when our invasion in Afghanistan.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we got there. It was the United States. I said we. They were producing under the Taliban 7.5, was it hectares, 1,000 hectares of poppy growth
Mm-hmm.
a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that they had reduced. The Taliban people were against this stuff going on. When the United States left, it was 320,000 hectares of poppy growth being produced. Look at these reports.
Yes, yes.
And this heroin,
Uh-huh.
90% of it was converted into heroin,
Uh-huh.
okay? Illicit heroin. And it was shipped all over the world through Canada and stuff. Maybe people want to make the argument,
But
do
it's
the
from
United
us.
States.
It's from us. We are doing it.
And we're going to, and the DEA supervised this stuff.
Yes, yes.
Grana Susie was in his timeline. When you look at his timeline, he
Uh-huh.
doesn't mention it.
Yes,
But they knew damn well this was happening here.
yes,
Then
yes,
they wanted to blame the quote opioid crisis.
yes.
Doctors?
Doctors that,
What?
oh, these doctors were prescribing too much opiates,
Right.
and we're
And
gonna go after them.
but who was producing the heroin? Who?
Yep. Yep. Under our
Who was
their
working with the
watchful
drug cartel?
eye.
All right. Right. And who was working? And Israel says, we were working with the girl. We were in bed with the cartels.
Yes, yes, yeah.
We were part of their operation. They paid for games or with the sex and women and Real, what they call it, like soccer, Real, it's the soccer
Real
team,
Madrid.
Madrid. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's about all that stuff.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
this is Jose Isri.
Yes,
And you want to blame this on Dr. Muhammad Ali Rifai, Dr. Anand,
yes, yeah,
and CVS Pharmacy?
yes, yes.
And when you look at these poppy fields, you don't see anybody from CVS Pharmacy. I didn't see you in those pictures, did you?
Well, CVS Pharmacy didn't have it with them. They just rode back and
Right.
come on.
He
I
was
mean,
our brief. He was thinking about stuff that we've been writing.
yes, yes. And in my case, they messed with the wrong Muhammad Ali.
That's the wrong Ali.
Yeah.
Or if you don't believe that this is all a game, look at the video that Parker did of Doc Keys, of attorney. His name is Doc Keys,
Uh-huh.
Doc Keys. He's a U.S. attorney.
Uh-huh.
How we how this game is played, and
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely. And
we can
they
create
just
anything here, and he's a prosecutor.
yeah, yeah, they charge stack like they did to Dr. Anand. Oh, he moved his money around. Like really you can't move your money around? You
Right.
yeah, like oh, he took a little bit of cash. Like really? Oh, he gave goodie
This
bags.
oh, the goodie bags was a lot of
Non-controlled substances, but goodie bags.
they're Voltaire and diclofenac in the goodie ointment.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he gave too much of
Yeah.
well, I mean, if you're not going to give the narcotic analgesic central nervous system
Mm-hmm.
medication, and you decide to give the diclofenac, I mean, what do you expect? That's
Absolutely.
you have to give more. You're going to have to give more of the diclofenac,
Uh-huh.
and that's a
Mm-hmm.
good thing.
I hear you. I hear you. And they don't care. So they feed this to the jury, and the jury takes it, and unfortunately, a federal jury comes to convict.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, unless it's really faced with like in my case, they had fabricated everything from A to Z. That's when things come at them. They come to convict.
Right.
I was telling you about our friend, our colleague from Massachusetts, orthopedic surgeon, Dr. James Oladipo, who's from Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a jury of 11 men and one African American woman.
Mm-hmm.
And the African American woman did not want to convict him. And the 11 white men wanted to convict him.
Hmm.
And basically they pressured this poor woman into changing her mind to convict him. He said
Hmm.
there's a motion by his lawyer, and the white judge said, "Oh, there was nothing going on. There's nothing whatsoever, nothing going on. Even though there's this African American woman who basically says that as a juror she wasn't comfortable with this decision.
Hmm.
She basically is like she says she wasn't comfortable with this decision. She was pressured. So now it's going
The appeals court.
the appeals court to the First Circuit, but they'll have a field day with that because that's discrimination there. One
But they,
one juror said, "I wasn't comfortable with the decision. I had 11 white men who I thought were going to beat me up
mm,
unless I changed my mind,"
mm.
to convict a Nigerian black African orthopedic surgeon, saying that it wasn't controlled substances, it was healthcare fraud only, that he was supposed to code something a level 2 and he coded it level 3.
It's what um, uh, Belski says. She says what they've done, they've managed to conflate tort law with criminal law.
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
the biggest problem that we
And they did not allow him to wait it out for the
right.
appeals court. The judge said you have to report to jail. So he had to report to jail February 27th,
Mhm.
2025. He's in jail now. He's at the federal correctional facility. They gave him a sentence of 18 months.
Mhm.
That's all they wanted. They wanted his money. They
That's right.
gave him 18 months. That's it.
Right.
18 month, and he's gonna be out May 15th, 2026.
Oh, you can do a little time there.
just
That's
just do a little time,
well,
little Nigerian
career.
doctor, African American doctor, go do some time in the prison camp, and we're
Yeah,
gonna take all of your money, and that's it. We're gonna call it a day.
and you'll never get your license back. There's a very interesting picture that I saw recently, and it was it was you, Mark Ibsen. It was Neil Arnott. Hold on, that's my alarm. That's called the 225. Okay, hold on a
Yes,
minute. Okay, so uh, it was you, Mark Ibsen, Rousseau,
yes,
Neil Arnott.
yes.
And here you have all you guys are physicians. Everyone's a physician, anesthesiologist, highly University of Michigan, University of Jefferson, University of Thomas Jefferson School of Medicine, and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff, Syria, all that. And every one of you, everybody you're looking at, all you have been classified as drug dealers in white coats, criminals.
Criminals, yeah.
And when you look at this, is this where
Thief.
we
They
got
called me thief. The
a thief?
the
Right,
U.S. attorney, this lady who now is disgraced.
right,
She left. She retired when I filed a motion calling for her sanctions. She retired within 25 days. She retired. I'm going to tell the judge that. She retired within 25 days when I filed a motion for her sanctions. She ran away. She
right.
can hear me on this somewhere on the web. You ran away when I filed for sanctions against you.
Because
She pointed to me and said he stole from the government. He and she never told the jury that I
you'd be,
actually gave more services to the government than whatever they paid me.
you'd be a, if she would have prevailed, she'd be a federal district judge.
I know, I know.
She would have prevailed. This is what we're talking about. This is a reward system. You get up to higher legaldom, and it's easier and more effective going after a physician than it is
Yes.
the common drug dealer, to which that common drug dealer is someone who's selling the very same stuff that's been brought into this country by the DEA itself.
Absolutely.
They're in
Absolutely.
bed with the cartels.
Yes. Yes.
They're, you know, they are paid by
Yep.
and it's well understood. And
Yep.
no one says a thing about it. And when they come in and raid these offices, they're stealing our property and putting it in their pocket. For example, you got cases like Hernan. I mean, we hear this time and time again, you know, their
Listen.
jewelry,
the-
stealing your money,
Yes. Yes.
stealing the drugs that they're taking. I remember Neil said that they arrested him, threw him in the in the he was in 17 days in the jail,
Detention
okay?
center.
Detention center, okay? And then when he got out, found out almost $200,000 had been run up on his credit cards.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
By who? He didn't know.
Yeah.
By who? And this you hear this time and time again. Our property is being stolen. My brother said they're stealing your property here.
Yes. Yeah.
These are not. This is nothing but a criminal enterprise.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
And
But we
we're fighting back. We're
right,
talking about it. There is now people who are talking about it. We're no longer afraid. You know,
free.
when after I was found not guilty, my lawyer said, "Hey, you better lay down, or otherwise they'll come after you." It's like
Yeah.
they're gonna come after me more than this.
Oh,
What are they
what
gonna come
are we
after me?
here?
They almost buried me.
Right.
We are rising from the ashes. We're the phoenix. We're gonna come back
It is.
at the Justice Department to expose everything.
Right. And
We're gonna
he's
talk about it.
gotten away with in the media and some of the worst. And I'll say this: some of I, I'm black, yeah, of course. So
Our weapons are going to be our tongues. We're going to
right,
speak up. Our
absolutely.
weapons are going to be our pens. We're going to write about these things. We're going to talk about it. We're going to write about it. We're going to yell and scream. We're going to be heard. That's where we're going
That's
to
what you have.
fight this fight.
Right.
We are physicians, pharmacists, dentists. We are respectable members of this community. We're going to fight back with our pens. We're going to write about it.
Not
We're going to
street
fight
drug.
back talking about it here and in all the avenues. And basically, we want to expose these sham prosecutions that the Department of Justice is doing.
And that's what this book was about. That Helen Burrell, her observations. If you go through there, she has a whole book, almost 500 pages of the American anatomy, the war against
Yes, yes,
paying patients, and those sort
yes.
of.
And my book is coming. The title of the book is Doctor Not Guilty. It is coming out. The next book, actually, we have a second book that's coming, People v. Medicine. That's
Mhm.
going to be coming too. So we're going to
Think about
expose all of these practices by
or
the Justice Department.
Bothra. Remember the
Yes,
Russos.
Bathra's book is coming.
Oh my God!
There's going to be books out there that talk about this thing, and they're going to be exposed, and they're not going to be able to silently prosecute doctors in different parts of the country where they think some doctors are not talking to other doctors, and that
Mhm.
they're gonna employ crap and underhanded legal maneuvers that
Right.
nobody would have read about because we are talking about it and physicians are united and we are banding together against abuse. We are doctors of courage. We are within the norms. And Dr. Anan, we are behind you and we're going to continue to support you
Or
in your appeal against this unjust verdict.
right. And to send him to ask him to do, all that training. Think about all the training, all the things that we've been through, and you're going to send this man. You're going to send this man to prison for 130 years. Okay, this is a guy who was a 911 hero. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
this is a guy who went through two fellowships. All
Yes.
right,
Yes. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is a guy who
It's unfortunate. It's
are are
heartbreaking.
are soldiers from when they were in Afghanistan.
It's
Yeah,
heartbreaking what they're preparing to do.
right. And you're going to tell me you're going to use this and use deception and
Yes.
and and uh
And
sometimes
outright lies,
out
that the expert is not going to be available, that he's
exactly.
going to go, so he won't testify, so
Oh,
he won't.
and that's what we're writing about now. And this is an article right now that's out. We're working on it. We do a thing called EOTF, which is called an edit on the fly. So
Yes,
we will publish the article, but put our
yes,
thoughts in there. And in this case, we see that the prosecution deliberately, in this case,
yes,
deprived the defense team, all the defense, to cross examination of the witness Tim King. All of
yes,
a sudden, they had him for 3 days, and then what happens is they said, well, he has to go on a some sort of legal whatever it was, and
escapade.
escapade. And it turns out
There was no escapade.
there was no escapade. There was no truth to this. So there was a misrepresentation
Yes,
by the prosecutor, Mr. Bodapati, okay,
yes,
who
Mr.
delivered
Punkawala.
Mr. Punk. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what he was there for. To
Yes,
sanitize this hearing so that it wouldn't appear any racial component. Well, Mr. Bodapati is
is Indian.
is Indian, and stuff. No, he's nothing but a fan bearer. He's nothing but a
Punkawala.
for the system of injustice that is taking place against Dr. Neil Anand. And
Yes,
he got away with, and they've been getting away with denial of a Dahlberg hearing as to
yes,
the expertise of King. And in
yes,
fact, he knew that King was getting his butt kicked up there on the stand.
yes,
He
yes,
made up this whole argument and
yes,
deprived them and said, well, he'll be back on Monday. In
yes,
fact, it was 10 more days that he
yes.
was here. And they had lied because
And the jury forgot all about it, and they got
exactly,
bamboozled by this prosecution
exactly.
team.
And why this judge had the guts to stand up and see this injustice and say this case needs this testimony or this verdict it has to be vacated. And
Yes,
that's what we're asking the
yes.
judge to
Very good. Very good.
vacate the entire verdict.
Yes.
But
This
the
unjust
misrepresentation
verdict. Yes.
and the malfeasance of the prosecutor
Yes.
who tried to stop this so-called uh, expert grifter
Hmm.
uh, to be properly cross-examined.
Very good.
They
Very good.
denied him a defense. That's the article that we're writing.
All right. And we are here, spending our Sunday afternoon. Thank you very much, Dr. Norman Clement.
Very much.
You are within the norms, for the excellent commentary and your excellent support to Dr. Neil Anand, our colleague.
Right.
We are
We'll
proud
leave.
to continue to support him, and we're going to continue to support him during his journey through this wretched system, to support his appeal, to support his cause. He's an excellent human. He's an
Mhm.
excellent physician, and we're going to continue to speak up. Our pens are the way that we fight back this tyranny. Our tongues, we talk about this injustice that's happening to us. We are physicians, dentists, pharmacists, clinicians, caretakers, and healers. We are not thieves, grifters, or drug dealers.
Drugs. Yeah,
And
leaving no stone, like we say, we leave no stone unturned, no subject,
absolutely, absolutely.
no
And
but.
and and you are always within the norms. And to the Justice Department, they messed with the wrong Muhammad Ali.
That's right. That's
Thank you very much for
what
for for being here with us on the virtual psychiatrist, Dr. Norman Clement. And we will have additional talks as this case develops. We are always in support of our colleague, Dr. Neil Anand.
I
May God bless him. May God bless his family. and may God assuage their struggles during this time. But we continue to be supportive
Be
of them.
victorious. Oh yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so.
you very much.
You bet. Bye bye.